This is Starry Ari's ASMR. I am Ari, and in this video, I would like to talk a little bit about some of the games that I played in 2024 on Game Pass. So, because I played them on Game Pass, I don't have the physical games here to tap on, but I do have this blank CD case, and I did something a little extra. It's a little ridiculous, but I printed out the cover images for the games that I wanted to talk about today, and I'm going to slide each one into the case as I talk about it so that you can kind of easily see which game I'm talking about, and that way I can make some case tapping and plastic sounds throughout the video. I also have my Xbox controller over here. I don't know if I'm going to tap on it much, but I figured I would set it here just in case. So, before we start, I did want to mention that the games that I'm going to show you today are not all games that came out in 2024, and they're not even necessarily games that were added to Game Pass in 2024, but I just played these this year. I do really enjoy trying out a lot of games on Game Pass if they sound interesting, but sometimes they end up just not being for me or not being the play style that I'm feeling in that moment. And a great thing about that is that I can try games I'm not entirely sure about without needing to buy them and then feeling like I need to play it because I spent money on it. So I found some really amazing indie games as well that I most likely would not have played without Game Pass. As you will see, I'm also not a game purist that only has one type of game that I play. I really love puzzle adventure games, but I also enjoy adventure RPGs and some simulation games. I will try not to give too much away about each game's storyline to not spoil any major plot points. But if you enjoy this, please let me know, and I might think about doing a video in January of 2025 about the games that I am looking forward to playing in the new year. So let's get into the games, and I have these in no particular order. So the first one that I have here is Lost in Random. Now this game, I believe, came out in 2021. I'm probably going to mention a lot of years that I get wrong in this video. And this is an action adventure game, and you are are playing as this young girl trying to save her sister in a world where everyone's lives and futures are ruled by a dice roll from the queen. I thought that this game was a lot of fun, and the art style is really interesting. It's kind of like almost Tim Burton-esque, but really interesting art. And the combat is really fun, and it was novel to me. I had never really played anything like it. And the story, I thought, was pretty interesting, pretty predictable, I think, but it was still fun to play through. And I played through this one pretty quickly once I picked it up because I just really enjoyed it. The sequel for this is set to be released in 2025, so I will definitely be keeping an eye out for that to give that one a try. So this one is Starfield. Now, I started playing this when this was first released in 2023, but I've included it in this video because I also played it a lot in 2024. So this is an action RPG, and you are playing a space explorer that is helping different factions in the galaxy and trying to figure out kind of some mysteries that are going on. This game has a large emphasis on exploring, which I love in games, even when it's quite repetitive. And I know that this is a controversial game for a lot of people, as there were some pretty glaring missteps upon the release. There were certain omissions to some basic mechanics and just a lot of bugs that could have been avoided. And there was also a lot of buzz before the release that this would be an amazing exploration game with like seemingly never-ending exploring opportunities. And it turned out that a lot of the worlds were procedurally generated, which is okay, but it means that a lot of the spaces are quite repetitive. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but there's also just some really strange choices that they made for some things that could have been really interesting puzzles or challenges that they just didn't do. So I still really enjoy playing this game. I haven't quite finished the main storyline because sometimes I love just going in with the goal of scanning the planets and the creatures. But my husband completed the main story and he enjoyed it. I love exploring in games, so this is still just really right up my alley. I did have to quickly learn that I don't need to pick up everything that I come across, because I am somebody that will do that in games. I want to just like collect everything and pick everything up, but this game, they have it designed in the way that when you're exploring rooms or ships, everything, pretty much everything, you can pick up. So like the coffee mugs, notebooks, paperweights, like all of that, and none of that you need. So I learned that really quickly when my storage space was constantly full, that I didn't need to be picking up every pen that I came across. This next game is called Chants of Sennaar, and oh my gosh, I love this game. This is one of my all-time favorite games now. Not even just that I played this year, but like of all time. And I don't know if I can even really describe this game in a way that makes it sound as good as it was for me, but I will try. So this is a puzzle adventure game in which you play as a traveler moving through a tower of different groups of people that are separated, and they all have a different language and culture, and you have to translate and decipher the languages based on clues around their section of the tower. So while you're exploring each section of the tower, you collect symbols from that language through like post-it signs or just by talking to the people, and you can freely type. Like you have a journal as you collect these symbols, and you can freely type what you think certain symbols mean. And then as you go further along, you can confirm or change your guesses and learn more about the grammatical structure for that language. So this was one of those games that I would think about even when I wasn't playing, because it was so interesting. Sometimes I would just be like on a walk with my dog, and I would suddenly get an idea for what a symbol could mean instead of what I originally thought. So that probably sounds a little boring, but it was just an absolutely amazing gameplay. Such an interesting idea. The lore that you learn as you're kind of like further venturing through the tower is just so amazing. It was done in a really great way, and everything is interpreted differently by the separated groups of people. So just really, really fun game. And after I finished this, I immediately tried to research other games that have similar like translation puzzle elements. So this one I highly recommend if you're somebody that likes puzzle games. Really, really fun. So this next game is called Jusant, and I think that this one was also released in 2023, but this is a puzzle style climbing game that is very chill with some really interesting lore in the story that you find as you climb to the top of the tall rock tower, and you learn about the people that lived in the different sections of the rock tower and try to figure out what happened. This one does get really repetitive, which I enjoyed. I kind of liked just that calming, like relaxed vibe of it. But my husband gave it a try and he didn't really like it. I thought that it was really interesting climbing mechanics, and the art style was just really beautiful and really vibrant. Overall, I thought that this was like a really calming game. I definitely enjoyed it. So this game is called It Takes Two, and this is a co-op adventure game that my husband and I played together and really enjoyed. So you play as a married couple that are kind of like magically turned into like little figures, and they have kind of shifted apart in their marriage, but they need to work together through different challenges and puzzles in order to get back to their daughter. The cooperative gameplay for this was phenomenally well thought out, and they change your character's tools at different points in the story so that each section almost feels like a different game, but like in the best way. It was really fun to play this story with my husband specifically too, because I think that we have really great communication as a couple, but the challenges that the characters were facing in their relationship still sparked some interesting conversations outside of the game. Overall, just a really fun game with super fun challenges and a really unique art style. This next one is Journey to the Savage Planet. So this is an action adventure game, and you're playing a character that was sent to a planet to gather data and information on the flora and fauna for this company, and you end up finding some interesting and unexpected things. I really loved the art style for this, and the creature designs I thought were so fun. There is a lot of humor mixed in that might fall flat sometimes, but I thought it was generally pretty funny. I loved the exploring around aspect, and even though you generally move through the map progressively with the storyline, the world is actually quite large, and I frequently found myself returning to areas to explore them more. This game also has a lot of collectibles, which I am a huge fan of because it really incentivizes you to explore areas more. I ultimately really enjoyed this game and also had a good time with their DLC, which they called the Hot Garbage DLC, which I thought was pretty funny. So I'm not going to talk about this one too much because you may have already seen my videos playing this game, but a little to the left is a really cozy puzzle and organizing game with lots of different types of puzzles. But they largely all have some type of sorting, organizing, or arranging element. Really fun, satisfying game with a lot of great DLCs. I'm currently playing through the Seeing Stars DLC, and I will include my playlist of those videos in the description if you're interested. This is another game that I won't talk about too much because I also have videos playing it. But Unpacking is another cozy game where you are doing just what the title says. You are unpacking and organizing the characters' spaces through different stages of their life. So far in my videos, I've done the childhood bedroom, the college apartment, and their first adult apartment with roommates. I will also include the playlist for this game in the description if you're interested and want to check that out. So this game is called Cocoon, and this was a really interesting puzzle adventure where you play as this little beetle or bug, I think it's a beetle, that can kind of move between worlds. So these worlds are kind of in these orbs, and you can solve puzzles in them to unlock other worlds that help you navigate through the main world's puzzles. I was really surprised with how much I enjoyed this game. I did have to look up a few solutions to some puzzles when I got stuck, which I don't really enjoy doing, but I still overall had a great time playing this one. And the puzzles progressively get harder, and they tended to build on themselves quite nicely, so they might have one that is kind of an easier mechanic, and then that same mechanic kind of pops up but just gets harder as you go along. So I thought that the puzzles were really interesting. This game here is another cozy game that it's really perfect if you like puzzles and just kind of like walking around. So Botany Manor is a puzzle story game where you are exploring a manor as a botanist. I'm explaining the Botany Manor name. So you are a botanist that is trying to regrow or save the plants around the manor, and you learn more about your character's life and about the history of the manor through the puzzles and exploring. This one was pretty fun, and it has a pretty simple art style, but I still enjoyed it, and I enjoyed walking around and exploring the manor grounds. game is called Humanity, and this is a puzzle platforming game that I just play kind of every now and then when I want to focus on some interesting puzzles. So you play as this dog that is guiding these crowds of people to certain checkpoints. Sometimes there are like interesting obstacles or things that you have to change real time, like mid-puzzle, to make it work. So this one can be pretty fun. It can also be frustrating sometimes, as with some puzzle platformers. But overall, I enjoy this one. This one here is Forza, and this one is Horizon 4, but I have also played Horizon 5. I only printed out the one. I figured I didn't need both to talk about them. So Forza is a classic, well-known, at least I think so, racing game series. I enjoy playing it every now and then. I am not a big car fanatic, but I grew up with my dad working in the automotive industry, and I have brothers that do love cars, so I can certainly appreciate the beauty and intrigue of them. But I ultimately love the racing challenges and exploring around the maps. I also enjoy collecting things in games, so earning and collecting the new cars is quite fun for me. So I've mainly played this one, the Horizon 4, which is set in Great Britain. But I have jumped into Horizon 5 briefly. Not a whole lot, but I think, if I recall correctly, I think that one is set in Mexico. So these ones are just good, fun, classic racing games. This game is Astroneer. Astroneer is a sandbox adventure style game where you are playing as this space explorer or an astroneer. You are exploring some different worlds, gathering resources to build up your transportation and bases, and kind of learning about some of the lore for the solar system that you landed on. I'm not always the biggest fan of sandbox games because sometimes I'm just not very creative, and I like having kind of attraction sometimes. But I love how many fun challenges and missions this game has that really does make it feel like a guided experience if you want it. I enjoy this one for when I'm just kind of wanting to hop into something and I don't really need to think about it very much, and I just want to grind away at getting resources for certain projects. I also think that the art style is really cute, and the planet and creature designs are really fun. This game here is Disney Dreamlight Valley. So this is a life sim game that I think is really similar to Animal Crossing for me, but it's made with Disney and Pixar characters. So you get to help the characters with their own little storylines, place their houses, and decorate and build up your valley. I played this one a lot at the beginning of the year, and then I just kind of got into other games that took up my time more. I can also get a little burnt out on life sim games, but I know that they have added quite a few new characters with new story quests, so I'll probably get back into this one at some point. This game is called Escape Academy. If you really enjoy escape rooms, you might really like this game. So this is a puzzle style game with an escape room setting. So you're playing as a character that attends a school that is teaching students how to do more and more challenging escapes. My husband and I have done quite a few escape rooms with friends and family, and we really enjoy them. So we played this one multiplayer and had a great time. Sometimes it can be difficult to find co-op games that are local and collaborative, so we really enjoyed this one. This one here is House Flipper. So this is a simulation game where you get to buy houses and fix them up to be sold to different buyers. I love this game. I have spent many hours buying houses, cleaning them up, which is honestly one of my favorite parts, and then renovating and remodeling and decorating them. So this game gives you a ton of freedom for creating entirely new layouts in the houses and for decorating. I feel like it has a pretty good selection of furniture and decor. It's a really fun game to just sink a lot of time into if you like these types of decorating games. I also currently rent and do not own a house, so it's really satisfying to go into this game and create something that I think that I would really enjoy if I was looking to buy a house. This game is called Superliminal. So this is, surprise, surprise, another puzzle game. But this one is pretty trippy with a lot of forced perspective and optical illusion puzzles. I had not ever really played any puzzle game quite like this. And there were some puzzles that were an absolute delight to figure out, and some that were pretty frustrating. until I figured out the solution, and then I felt really dumb for not thinking about it sooner. So this was a really great idea for a puzzle game, and there is a narrator throughout, and some of that humor mixed in reminded me a little bit of Gladys in Portal, just in the style of the humor. I thought it was pretty good. This game is called Unravel, and this is another one where there's also Unravel 2 on Game Pass, and I've played both of them and really enjoyed both, but I think I played the first one back in 2022 or 2023, I can't fully remember, but I still wanted to talk about it because I played the second one this year, and I just have the one picture. I didn't print out one for Unravel 2. So these are puzzle platform games in which you play as this little yarn character, and in the first one you are kind of moving through an old woman's memories. I definitely cried at some points when I played through the first one because some of the story was just so beautiful or heart-wrenching, and it really just draws you in with the beautiful visuals and soundtrack. I think that these games were developed by a Swedish company, but there's no dialogue, so the story is told entirely through the visuals, which I think is really smart sometimes, because I found that poor or cheesy dialogue can make a really great game almost unplayable. Some of the puzzles in these games could be pretty hit or miss, and you do have to get things like just right sometimes, but I overall really enjoyed this series. This game is called The Rewinder. You are playing this character that is kind of like you have this power to rewind time and kind of help humans or troubled spirits through a situation. So this one was a really interesting story. I think that the gameplay was also pretty fun. It's very like dialogue driven, so you're really like talking to different people to try and figure out what you need to do. But the art style was really almost old school, but I thought it was still really fun to play. I hope that you have enjoyed listening to me ramble on about a bunch of different games. Again, these are not all of the games that I've played on Game Pass, but just some of the ones that I enjoyed playing in 2024. I am excited for quite a few games coming up in 2025. So let me know if you'd be interested to hear about that. To hear about this random person's excitement for some games. As you can see, I enjoy puzzle games, I think, the most. I'm a huge fan of puzzles and just figuring things out. I think it's really satisfying. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest